Welcome fibre friends, you've stepped into Spellbound Stitching, where I seek to weave a little magic into every stitch, twist and skein. If you are new here, welcome, and if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. We're at episode 11 today. My name is Kat and I'm an avid crafter dabbling in knitting, crochet, cross stitch, patchwork, dressmaking and baking. I'm also an indie dyer and have an online store. I've also started a small journey into knit and crochet pattern design and a little bit of spinning. By day I work full-time in cybersecurity. I live in Auckland, New Zealand, which is in Wellington, our capital city, and today is Sunday the 1st of March 2026. You can find me on Ravelry as Broomstitch and on Instagram and Facebook as Broomstitch NZ. You could check out my online store at www.broomstitch.co.nz and contact me by email, DM me on social media, or leave a comment below this video, which I will respond to, I promise. Before we dive into my enchanting podcast, I'd love it if you like what you see here today, that you could cast a quick thumbs up my way or give this video a like. And if you really enjoy my podcast, please consider subscribing. That way you'll get a notification when I post new content. This helps to keep my creative cauldron bubbling, so to speak, and send ripples of support out into the wider YouTube universe so that other people with similar interests can find my videos. Before we get started, just a quick note to say that I leave all my show notes for everything that I talk about in today's episode in the description box below, and they're also on my website, so there's a back catalogue there. These notes include links where possible so that you can find the things that I talk about online. So without further ado, I guess we get started into what I am wearing. And today I am wearing the Melting Pot Tee by Alina Appasova. There are 10 sizes available in the pattern from 81 to 173 centimeters in the bust, and I made a size 2. Now this was a bit of a scrappy project. In a previous episode you would have seen my Mila overall colour work. It was grey with these colours as the features, and I had a fair bit of yarn left over, so I thought I would make another top. So the yarns that I've used, you might have seen here before, but it's Dark Harbour Starboard yarn, which is composed of 70% merino and 30% silk. It is a 4-ply or fingering base. I think it's singles, but it's very like drapey, as you can see by the movement in the top. And there's 400 meters per 100 grams roughly. So there's 4 colors in this top. The orange is called Luca Brasi. The purple is called Erica. The green is Dead Man's Finger. And the grey or charcoal is called Scuttlebutt. So this top, the whole idea is that you throw any colours in the pot and it turns into a beautiful sweater or t-shirt. Really great for using up those single skeins, you know, when you go to yarn festivals and you buy a single skein just because it's too beautiful to leave behind, and then you're stuck wondering what you're supposed to do with all of these single skeins. Well, this tee is a fantastic solution for that. It uses 2.75 millimeter and 3.5 millimeter needles. The gauge is 34 stitches on 36 rows. I know I didn't hit gauge. I made the size 2 and I wanted a little bit of more positive ease. The recommended is 5 to 20 centimeters, so there's plenty of room in there to choose whatever you prefer, however you prefer to wear your garments. I started it on the 30th of September and I finished it on the 5th of October, so it was a very quick knit for me. You carry the colours through, so you don't have to weave in any of the ends at the end. It's mosaic knitting, so it's a mosaic colour work where you're using slip stitches to pick up and drop down the colours so they look like they mash in together a little bit better. It is a round yoke sweater. It has short rows at the back, so the charcoal on the back is a little bit more than on the front. That doesn't bother me at all. It's sort of an anything goes kind of pattern, there's heaps of different projects on Ravelry that give you some really cool ideas for colour inspiration, some that sort of melt together and some that are a little bit more contrasty like mine. And there's 4 different sleeve options included in the pattern. So there's a t-shirt, a longer sleeve, a full length sleeve, and I did a fitted sleeve, but there's the option to do straight down and then gather in at the cuff. Or not at all, I suppose. You could do whatever you want, but she gives you the information on how to modify it 4 different ways. So that is what I'm wearing today. My next section is usually what's in my cup. And today I've got this beautiful handmade ceramic cup from an artisan in New Zealand, and I have Puka detox tea in here. It's a fennel tea, so it's got a lovely aniseed flavour. So I hope you've got something to sip on and something to knit on while you spend some time with me today talking about my projects. I'll start with the smaller projects first, I think. So the first thing that I have finished, I've talked about on previous episodes, but it is my pair of Black Cat Favourite Socks by Black Cat Knitting Company, which is Alana Pink, who owns the Lupine Yarn Co. in Auckland and Parnell. So I've made these size, there's 5 sizes available. I've made the smallest size for me. I've shown another pair that's all in this wool on my podcast before, and that was the size 2. The yarn, this pinky one with the purple running through it, is Joy of Yarn Locomotive Sock, and the colour name is Something Good, which is named after a Big Runga song. And the purple is just a yarn that I dyed myself, a little mini, so that I could have a contrast colour. So the construction of these socks they are toe up with a short row heel, really easy to put in a different colour. That was heaps of fun. The recommended needle size is 2.5mm, but I always do my socks on 2mm because I like them to be a little bit more dense. The composition of the wool is 20% Lincoln, 80% Merino, which means the Lincoln's very strong, so it's very good for socks, but it is kind of fuzzy. And it's definitely a woolly wool, so it's a little bit scratchy, but on my feet I don't notice it, and they keep my feet so toasty. You need 200 to 340 meters of yarn. Now for me, I usually get 2 socks out of 1 skein of yarn. I made the other ones in this locomotive sock color quite a bit longer, so I knew I wasn't going to have enough. I split what I had left. I think I had about 38 grams left into 2 different balls. Looking at it, I knew I wasn't going to have enough to make me a full pair, and if I could do it again, I would probably cast on with the purple in the toe, do the toe, then do the body, change for the heel, and then I would have the same color sock. But I actually don't mind that version, because when I wear them outside my leggings, I like to fold them down. So that's cute. So those are my Black Cat favorite knitting socks. I started them on the 3rd of December and I finished them a couple of weeks ago. I haven't actually written down what date it was that I finished them, but one of the good things about this pattern is there's shaping around here before you start your heel to actually accommodate for the instep, and I've got really high arches on my feet, so it's always a little bit tight across the instep on my socks, but not with these ones. So that's a really good little tip that I'm sort of going to carry through going forward when I do heel flap and gusset or short row heel socks. So that's the first project. The next one is also socks, a little bit less exciting because they're just my tube sock with the Afterthought heel. The yarn is some yarn floozy. I think it's called Reloved. It's her Donegal tweed sock yarn, and she does self-striping for when she goes to like yarn shows or yarn festivals. So there's usually a basket of self-striping sitting there. I haven't managed to find self-striping on any websites or anything like that, just at yarn festivals. So you can see these ones are green, purple and blue, and I added some more of that same yarn for the heel for these ones. I was concerned that I wasn't going to have enough for 2 pairs if I didn't add a bit, because you can see these ones are quite long. And I have got the other pair on the needles pretty much ready to come off, but not quite. So this is just, I knit from the top down into a tube, I put a toe in, and then I use the Kirby Werby method to put in an Afterthought heel, and I like to do it in between two rows so I don't end up with the split stripe. And these fit really great, and I'm looking forward to wearing them. I think they'll be a winter staple just because they're so long. It will keep my feet nice and toasty in the office. So those are also done on 2mm needles because that's my preference for socks. So that's the small projects out of the way. The next one I have talked about a little bit on my 26 and 2026 because this was one of my projects that I had planned for 2026, and that is the Millie cardigan by Irene. Now this one, I had made it a cropped little one, intended to wear it over dresses, and I particularly wanted this to wear to my cousin's wedding that happened at the end of January. There are 8 sizes available in this pattern, from 90 to 154 centimetre bust, and I made the size 2. You can see there's a little bit of positive ease there. I'll put some photos up next to me so that you can see it a bit closer, but the main colour is a Happy Go Knitty yarn, which is done in her second base, which unfortunately she's not dyeing anymore, but there is still some of it floating around online at shops that stocked it. And the colourway was Woolfest 2025, so that is the yarn festival that happens up in Auckland that I went to last year. So it was a 480 meters on 115 gram skein, and I thought I might get a cardigan out of it, but I didn't quite. So I added this extra yarn, which you can see the sparkles, and that one is the Yeah Yarn Sugar Light color in her sparkle sock base, and that one's 400 meters per 100 grams, and I've done that around the edge here on the ends of the sleeves and at the bottom. So it was pretty close, not quite an exact match, obviously hand-dyed yarns, but I don't think it detracts from it. In fact, I think it adds to it having a little bit of sparkle. And the buttons I got from my local yarn store, Thimbles and Threads, and they're just some shiny metal ones because I wanted it to be a little bit special. So for my bolero style cardigan. But looking at the pattern, I did actually manage to get in the right number of repeats. I had originally already done one of the cuffs, both of the cuffs on the sleeves actually, and then when I got to the end of my skein of yarn, I actually had only done about this much, so I stole back the yarn from the cuffs and kept going, and I'm really happy that I did. And it was beautiful with the dress that I chose to wear. I was really happy. I got a few little compliments from my family, so I started that one on the 17th of January and finished it on the 30th, which was actually the day before the wedding. And the only reason I remembered to start it was because I'd caught up with my auntie for lunch and she said, oh, we'll see you in a couple of weeks anyway at the wedding. And I went, oh goodness, I haven't started the cardigan that I wanted. So it was a bit of a monogamous knit. It's worked top down in the round, well, back and forth because it's a cardigan, and it's got beautiful raglans with a cable in them, and a beautiful lace pattern on the sleeves and on the body. The sleeves are just straight down until you get to the cuff. I didn't do the full length of the cuff as recommended because it was getting quite long for me, and I wanted it to hit sort of about where this hits. But there's this cute little scrunch stitch which creates like a scalloped edge, which I hadn't done before. I immediately went on to Ravelry and had a look at some more Irene patterns because this one was beautifully explained, so well done. It was intended to be DK, but because the gauge is 25 stitches over 31 rows, I know that I get that kind of gauge on a 3.75mm needle with fingering weight yarn. And I don't think you can tell that it was meant to be DK, but I think it would work out beautifully as a DK. So I have a few more of her patterns sort of now saved in the favourites to do in the future. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say about that one other than I love it, and it was great to have for the wedding because it wasn't too, it covered my shoulders up nicely, but it wasn't too hot. It's 65, I don't know if I said, it's 65 merino, 20% silk, 15% yak. And the Happy Go Knitty is 75% merino, 20% nylon, 5% silver stellina. So it's got a lovely drape and it's beautiful to wear, and I'm looking forward to wearing that one into the office this week, I think. So that's my Millie cardigan by Irene Lynn. The next one is another garment, and that is by Caitlin Hunter, and that is the Misurina. And I have knit one of these before, so this is my second one, and I made it in the Kindly Dyers yarn. So Kerry does naturally dyed yarns, hand-dyed yarns. So the purple is logwood and the blue is coreopsis flowers. So the purple is 100% merino and the blue is 80% merino, 20% Lincoln. And I bought a couple of minis to do the colour work on that. But this design is part of Caitlin Hunter's Knitty series. So they're based on places in Italy, and the reason I love this pattern, other than the fit is great, is because it gives you a little bit of everything. So there's a tiny bit of lace, there's cables, and there's some really lovely colour work. Now my other version of this is super bright colours, Fairy Dust by Roxy Fibers and Refraction. So the Fairy Dust is cream with a whole lot of multicoloured speckles, and Refraction is super bright colours. So this one was just intended to be a little more reserved. It is quite warm to wear, so with the high neckline, so it's better for like a cooler day. A great transitional season piece, I think. I reckon this is going to be a staple in autumn for me. I also chose to do the pearl pattern. There's two different versions. There's one with eyelets and one with pearls. My other version has eyelets, so this one has the pearl texture on the body, which actually gives it this really cute, like almost honeycomby look. So I bought those yarns when I went to Waiata Rapa Wool Weekend last year, and I started it on the 2nd of January and I finished it on the 1st of February, so it was nearly a month for this one. It was the project that I decided to take when we went away down to Queenstown that I talked about in my last episode. I cast it on the plane going down to Queenstown, so it was just sort of something to have to chug through when we had some downtime in the hotels. But I mean, what else can I say about it? I've made it a slightly shorter length, not quite cropped, but it's not a long t-shirt, so that I can wear it with both high-waisted pants and skirts. Yeah, loved it. Second time round was just as good, and definitely recommend the pattern. It's beautiful in every way. I did add a couple more short rows at the back, just because I find what Caitlin Hunter usually does is a little bit too shallow for my own taste, because I prefer my neckline to sit about here as opposed to up here. I don't like it in that little danger zone for me, so I've got to make it drop just another couple of centimeters. So that is my Misurina by Caitlin Hunter. Now this last one you won't have heard me talk about, because it's been a languishing whip since 2023. So I cast it on November the 12th, 2023, and I finished it on the 2nd of February this year, mostly because I was inspired after watching Alana's Frog Will Finish Thank You for Knitting podcast episode. She does this challenge at the beginning of every year. She used to do it at the end of the year, but Christmas got hectic, so she's moved it to January, where she looks at everything she's got in her whip pile and goes, do I want to keep it and finish it, or do I want to frog it? And tries to end up with net zero by the beginning of February, so she can start the year fresh. I only had an armhole and the neck hole to do, and that is my Camisole No. 9 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. This was not knit for me, it's not my colours, as you might see, but it is a tank top. So it's all over stockinette stitch. I dyed this up as just a bit of an experiment and having a play in my folk sock base. So it's got folded over neckline and sleeves. So the front is a little bit wider than the back. It's almost a racer back style when you wear it. And then it's just stockinette all the way down to the bottom, where you do a fold over cuff and you do a little purl row in there to make sure it folds over cleanly and stays and doesn't roll up. So I knit this for my other half to wear as like a singlet to go underneath things. I had a heck of a time knitting this. I hated this project. Nothing to do with the pattern necessarily. Maybe it was to do with me. It was definitely to do with Frank, my dog. So it's a fingering 4-ply weight pattern. There's 8 sizes from 69 centimeters to 114 centimeters. It's recommended to you wear it with 12 to 15 centimeters of negative ease. So that means it hugs you as opposed to positive ease where there is room to move. I ended up, the recommended needle sizes are 2, 2.5 and 3 millimeter needles. I ended up using 1.75s and 2.25s. I could not get gauge. I don't know what was going on with me, but it was 30 stitches over 38 rows for gauge. And knitting back and forth, I'm a lot tighter than knitting in the round. So I ripped this out 3 times before I decided what I was doing, and that was to size down all the way to the extra small to get, because they wanted it fitted and tight so they could wear it underneath things. So I ripped it back 3 times before I decided what I was doing and went down sizes and went down needles. It's top down in the rounds, which means you cast on the little straps and you do the front and then you do the back, then you join them together and you knit all the way down, do the folded over hem, then you pick up around the armholes and the neck hole to just do a plain stockinette stitch and fold it over and secure it with a whip stitch. This was one of those projects that just sort of hung around, but my dog really liked this yarn, and when he was a puppy his favorite game was to steal yarn, and the amount of times that he got hold of this particular project and ran around the lounge or the office with it and unraveled it or tangled my ball up into such a mess that one time it took me 3 hours to untangle. Yeah, I was really mad at the project for ages. And it just sat there, and then I thought, you know what, I'll do it while I'm in meetings. So I did the whole body while I was sitting at my desk in meetings, just going round and round and round. That's fine. Took it upstairs to do the pickup and knit the armhole, so I thought I'd probably need some concentration for that. Then picked up the second armhole, but I obviously didn't pay enough attention to how many stitches I picked up for this one. This one came out wrinkly and twisted when I tried to sew it down, so I cut that off because I wasn't going to rip it back. I just cut it and pulled it out. And then it sat in the corner for another few months before I reattempted to do the second armhole and the neckline, and I did both within one night, I think. Yeah. Won't be knitting one of those again. It's a really lovely pattern. I don't know that there was anything wrong with the pattern. I think maybe it was fairly early on in my, like, everybody raves about her knitting patterns, but this one just didn't gel with me. So I don't think I'll be knitting it again. Didn't enjoy my experience, and it sort of taints it for you. But that's not to say it's a lovely top. It's beautifully structured. And the other half wears it all the time, not at the moment because it's a little bit hot for a warm singlet, but that is my Camisole number 9 by My Favourite Things Knitwear, and I cannot tell you how happy I am that that is no longer in my whip pile. I wasn't going to frog it because they really wanted it, and I wasn't going to let it defeat me, basically. So that is everything in my FOs. So I'm only going to talk about active whips, and at the moment for me the only one that I have active is the Nectar blanket by Ysolda Teague. There's 6 sizes available. I'm making the size 3, which is 16 hexagons, and I'm doing it in Ashford Merino, Duck Egg and Mist. I've got a grey for the border. I've now done 8 hexagons and I'm on to the next lot. I've got them on DPNs on my yarn butler. Unfortunately I can't spread it out to show you because the stitches will all slide off the DPNs. Would be really a lot easier if I had longer DPNs, but I do not. You start from the center and work your way out. By the time you get to the outer edge, which I'm just doing the border for this one now, you're up to 120 stitches before you start on the border. So that is probably going to be my monogamous project because he was supposed to be due next week and he came early at the last weekend of April. So now I have to get this done quick smart. So I will be working on the Nectar blanket by Ysolda Teague. I will probably have to send it away before I get to film the next episode. It might make it into my in-between episode if I haven't sent it away by then, but I will make sure I take some good photos and videos for the next episode if it's already gone to its new home. So I bought those from the merino, Ashford Merino from Holland Road Yarns in Lower Hutt when we went to check that new little yarn store out. The recommended needle size depends on which weight of yarn you choose, because you can pick whatever you like. I chose fingering because I love little baby blankets and that delicate, beautiful, soft yarn, which means I'm using 3.25mm needles, but you could use 4 or 5s and use DK or worsted weight yarn. I haven't measured gauge. I don't really care what size it ends up as, but it should be 20 stitches over 40 rows. I've started it on the 10th of January and it's still in progress, so I'll let you know when it's done. I do have to sew all the little hexagons together, make the half hexagons a couple of triangles so that it's a rectangle, and then pick up all around the border to sew on a garter stitch border, so to knit on a garter stitch border, sorry. And it was named Nectar because of the beautiful little flowers being a source of food for the bees. And she does recommend that you wash and block all your hexagons before you try and sew them together because it makes it easier. So what I've done is I've just left my blocking mat. It's foam tiles from Bunnings. I haven't got proper blocking mats. And I've just left the pins for these in the blocking mat. So when I block them, I just stretch it over so that all of them have turned out the same size. So that is my Nectar blanket by Ysolda Teague. New cast-ons. So you might remember from my 26 in 2026 that I have a long list, a very long list of things that I would really like to knit this year. And the only new cast-on that I've got that hasn't already been shown or talked about is the Soft Current Tee by Wool and Pine Designs. Now I'm making this in dye stock yarns that I bought at Fibertron, and I am so close to finishing. It nearly made it to be an FO, but not quite. So it's this beautiful grey with splashes of purple and pink and blue through it, called Rainy Day Flowers. And the top is a 4-ply or fingering weight yarn on 3.5mm needles, the whole thing. It's top down in the round-ish, so you do. Let's have a look at it first. So it's this beautiful t-shirt with a bit of a v-neck, but it's sort of like a slip over slash t-shirt, whereas in that you don't actually put sleeves on it. So you cast on at the shoulders, and I've got a little stitch marker there to show where the middle is, but you cast on at the shoulders and then you work some triangles, some short rows. You can maybe sort of see where they might be there, so you get like a triangle shape on the shoulder. To give it a curve, but the whole way you are doing this beautiful almost feather and fan, maybe peacock lace kind of design with a little cable either side of it, and you are doing your edges as you go with some cool little tricks from Wool and Pine Designs. This would have been an FO, but I had to rip it out because the size that I made was too big. So I'm actually now making the size 1. Yeah, I'm nearly done. I'm right at the ribbing. I've just got to do another couple of rows and bind it off and it'll be ready to go. So the neckline is done. It's got a cool little cast on, I-cord cast on at the back to do the back neckline, to join the shoulders. So you work the front and the back, then you join in the round for the sleeves. And I'm hoping that blocking will sort out the rolling, but it's got this neat edge down the sides, and it just, because of the triangles, it sort of shapes over your shoulder a little bit like a shoulder cap, but not. So my plan is to wear this both as a t-shirt and as sort of as a slip over, so wearing like a plain black merino underneath or something. The yarn is just gorgeous. I love it so much. The little pops make me so happy when I'm knitting away, getting to see them. And you might notice that the one at the back is a bit wider than the one at the front, the lace panel, but it curves seamlessly the whole way across the shoulders. Like, you can't even tell, except for this little bit here is where you start going down the other way. And I love it, and it's been so much fun to knit. There is 11 sizes available in the pattern, and that goes from 85.6 to 188 centimeters, so very size inclusive. The intention is to wear this at 15 to 25 centimeters of positive ease. Now, if I look at that on me, that is probably going to be in the 15 centimeter range once it's blocked. So about 7 centimeters either side, because I know from previous experience knitting lace that it will grow a little bit and it will block out and lengthen and go wider. So that I'm really looking forward to wearing this one. So that is the Soft Current Tea by Wool and Pine Designs in Die Stock Yarns Rainy Day Flowers. Q's up next. So I have done a video of my 26 in 2026, and I've sort of put them in a bit of an order on Ravelry that I kind of want to try and knit them in. So there's a bunch of summer knits up front, and then there's some for the later half of the year. And there's a bunch of winter woolies in the middle. But I'm sort of also now thinking about some other bigger projects that I want to do, so things might get knocked off the bottom of the list, but we will see. So I guess I better get to the point then, where I'm going to make the Stromboli by Caitlin Hunter. You might notice a few recurring designers or themes. It's also part of her Knitty series, like my Misurina, and I'm going to make it in this beautiful yarn by Hani Hoolies from West Auckland, Julie and Paul, that I ordered off their website, and it is 50% merino, 50% silk, so that's their Silky Bar Lamb base, and the colour is Love Potion number 9. Now, I've chosen this yarn because I want it to be very drapey and silky and flowy, and I believe the original one is knit in a high silk content yarn, so I think this would be perfect out of my stash. It says it needs 802 to 1,362 meters of yarn. I'm going to probably make the size 1 because there's only 6 sizes available, but the first one, it starts at 112 centimeters, and the largest goes up to 185 and a half. Oh, there you go. Originally made in my OOAK Cooper, which is a blend of yak and cotton. So yak is very similar in that it is so super soft and drapey. So it compares nicely to a merino silk blend. It's got a very intricate cable and lace pattern all over because that just seems to be my thing. I am thoroughly enjoying stimulating knitting at the moment, like stuff that makes my brain work. The Nectar blanket isn't so much now because I've made so many that it's just sort of second nature at this point. But it's bottom up in the round, so a little bit different. We're going from the bottom up and then separating to work the front and the back, and then joined at sleeves. And it has a little sleeve that gets picked up and worked in the round. The needles required are 2.75 and 3.25s, and the gauge is 20 stitches over 32 rows. And I'm probably going to stick with the recommended needle sizes. Having knit a few of her patterns, I'm usually pretty close to gauge, and knitting the size 1, I don't think it will matter if it's a little bit more fitted. So that's what's in my queue. That's what's up next. I'm trying to be a little bit more monogamous and get some stuff finished before I start the next one, because I did have a little bit of a cast on party in my last episode. I need to get that under control. So now I normally talk about a new designer or some new patterns, and both of these are new designers to me and new patterns to me. And the first one is the Double Date Cardigan by Winter's Weather Knits. Now this one is 9 sizes available, 89 centimeters to 165, 7.5 centimeters, and it's designed to be worn with 10 to 18 centimeters of positive ease. It is a DK pattern, so recommended for DK weight yarn, needing between 1100 and 2200 meters. I would say the difficulty for this one is like quite advanced because it's not a standard construction, it goes side to side. So you can see in the body, the pattern goes downwards. That's because it's knit side to side. From what I can gather, the sleeves are picked up in the round and worked down. The designer originally made this in a pullover. It was based on the TV show The Gilmore Girls. But they decided to make it into a cardigan as well. It was one of the characters was wearing something similar. And it's supposed to have like loose arms and a boxy body just to sort of comfy, cuddle up and read a book or go for a nice walk in the middle of autumn kind of vibe. 3 and 3.5 millimeter needles might mean it's a bit slow going in terms of progress because that's quite small needles for DK weight yarn. And because it's knit side to side, you have to know how to knit flat. It does look like colour work, but it says it's not. You never have to use 2 colours at once, so I'm assuming that means it is mosaic knitting. And the pattern requires 4 colours. So it'd probably be quite a good scrappy project if you bought your main base and then just used up some leftovers from another project to do the pretty colour work. So that's the first new pattern, new designer. So it's Double Date Cardigan by Winter's Weather Knits. And the next one is crochet. And that is the Isla Granny Square Sweater by Lakeside Loops. There is 8 sizes available, and it's only got measurement in inches, unfortunately. So that's 40 to 64 inches in the bust. And it's recommended to be worn with a 2 to 4 inch of positive ease. Again, this one is for DK yarn. But it's probably more suitable for a cotton if you wanted to do something like lovely spring summer vibes, or make it into like a cover up. So it's a bunch of different granny squares which you can see from the picture, and they're all sewn together to make this gorgeous top. But I really like how all the diagonal lines seem to line up. That makes it look just really seamless. So it's a bit like boho chic, I guess, depending on the colour and the yarn that you use. The gauge is 17 stitches in 17 rows and uses a size G or 4.25 millimeter hook. You need 1,000 to 2,800 meters depending on what size you pick of yarn. I'd say the difficulty is intermediate because there's a few trickier techniques in there for, like, it's not a first sweater for a crocheter kind of. You've got to have some experience doing some of the more complicated stitches like a puff stitch, and requiring everything to be sewn together and then picked up and finished means it's just a little bit more difficult. But I think it's like, she said it's a modern twist on a crochet classic, so the granny square being the crochet classic. Let's make more modern looking granny squares and turn it into something very beautiful to wear, I imagine. I think it's going to go in my queue, just maybe not this year because I've already got so much else on. It would probably also be fine to use as a wool, but I'd pick cotton or some sort of plant fibre if you want that cool, breezy, floaty summer vibe. So that's the 2 new patterns that I've chosen to show you today, which means we're moving on to acquisitions. I've only got one of those today because I am trying to be good and not buy extra yarn, since the whole point in doing the 26 and 2026 is to eat up my stash. But I did subscribe to Amy from Handmaiden's Yarn Club, and I'm pretty sure it's safe to show this now because my video is a little bit late coming out. But that is February's birthstone, and that is amethyst, and it came with a beautiful little amethyst stitch marker. And you can tell my other half is not getting their hands on this one because this one is going to be for me. But it is going to go into stash because I am going to wait until the whole collection's done and see if I want to combine any into some larger projects as opposed to just making socks. So that one is on the High Twist 85% Superwash Merino 15% nylon base from Amy, and beautiful shades of purple. Lots of darker and lighter, and I love the white poking through. Actually, I think it just makes it sort of, I don't know, like a shimmery kind of quality. I dye a lot of mine in a similar way so that you can still see some of the natural fibre colour coming through, and it's my favourite kind of hand dyed yarn. So that is my only acquisition for this time round. Guess that means we're on to talking about everything else. So the first thing that I normally talk about in the everything else section is an indie of the episode. This time I've chosen Dye Happy Yarns, who is an indie dyer from Leigh, which is in Rodney District in north of Auckland. And it is the beautiful Turea who runs Dye Happy Yarns. The note that she has when you first go onto her website is, I believe in the healing properties of colour and fibre crafts. And like, girl, same. That's why so much of my life revolves around yarn and dyeing beautiful colours and playing. So it's very much a similar ethos. She has joyful colours to match the energy of their creator. She does a lot on untreated yarns and fibre, so it's natural, not superwash. She has project bags and occasionally a few other little accessories on her booths. She's very recognisable at fibre festivals because she wears a beautiful big floral headdress and she's usually got her apron on. A wonderful person to have a chat with. I grew up not too far away from Leigh, so I do remember their family from school, so that's pretty cool. We bumped into each other at Capital Fibre Fest a couple of years ago and got talking, and I walked away with some of her beautiful yarns. I didn't manage to find it to show you, but of course I bought a purple skein from her in DK, and my intention is to make a hat, but you know how I get funny with my purple yarns and I have to find the perfect one. I haven't found the perfect one yet, but I will. So she dyes small batches in kettles, which is like a big drum. So she does tonal yarns as opposed to, I guess sometimes she does hand painted, but she does tonal yarns and she does fibre. So braids of fibre as well. So you can spin your own yarns from her dyed yarns. So if you have a chance, she's got a website, go check her out, or she's usually at plenty of fibre events. So on that note, moving on to upcoming events, there's a couple coming up very soon. So there's Wool in the Bay at Hawke's Bay, and there's the 45 Degrees Fibre. So Wool in the Bay, I believe, is brand new, and it is sponsored by Katie from the Knit Nook. I'll read you a little bit about what it says on her website. It says, get ready for a cozy autumn escape like no other. Wool in the Bay is coming to Hawke's Bay in 2026. A weekend retreat filled with creativity, colour and connection. Think crisp autumn mornings, golden vineyards and a whole lot of yarn-soaked joy. We're bringing together a vibrant, welcoming community for a weekend of making and memory making. You can expect inspiring classes taught by talented makers, lively speakers, a cocktail knit night out on the town, and plenty of space to relax, laugh, learn and meet new friends. This retreat is designed to be beautifully inclusive, a space where everyone is welcome, supported and celebrated. Come as you are, bring your current whip and leave with a heart full, new skills and a few extra buddies for life. So that sounds like an amazing event. Unfortunately, it's right before Capital Fibre Fest that I will be prepping for, so I don't think I'm going to be able to squeeze it in. The fee to register for the event is $189, but for that you get a tote with some goodies in it, entry into the venue and access to the shared spaces, access to the marketplace, entry to the cocktail night and 1 drink token, 10% off accommodation at the Crown Hotel, and there's a bunch of door prizes, but also access to 4 speakers or workshops at the event. And then you can purchase additional classes if you want to go to some of the other ones that are available. So that sounds like an amazing new event for New Zealand fibre community. And a little bit about the 45 Degrees Fibre, and that one's hosted in Gore, so that's like deep south island of New Zealand. I actually drove through Gore, or past Gore rather, on my trip to Queenstown when we were driving down to Bluff. And that one is run by Amy from Handmaiden, and I think it's the 3rd year that this event will be going, and this one's a free entry event, Saturday the 2nd of May from 10 AM at the Gore Town and Country Club Stadium, and it's basically an event celebrating all things wool. So there are places that you can sit down and have a chat and socialise with your fellow crafters. There's plenty of different stalls with a huge variety. The traders lists are up on her Instagram already, and Facebook, which I've included the links next to me so you can go have a look, but check it out. if you're going to be near that event on the 2nd of May. But if you want to go to Wool in the Bay, you need to register. So make sure you get onto that, because I imagine it will fill up pretty fast. So that's the upcoming events section. The next one, I usually talk a little bit about a crafter's tip. So for that one, I'm going to need my whip. I will just unbury it because I put stuff on top of it, because that wasn't very smart of me. But I would like to talk about stitch on hold cords. Now these things, I got mine from Unwind and Knit with me, so I've included the link of where I got mine. But they something I can't do without. So that's the large size. Oops, falling out. So that's the large size. So you can get them in a couple of different sizes for different size needles, and they come in these great little tins. And that is the small size, and there's different lengths of cable included in there, but basically they're a bit of cord or tube that you attach to the end of your knitting needles, and then you can slide your stitches off your cables onto the cord, and they don't go anywhere. And it's great for if you need to try something on, which is how I figured out that this one was way too big. Because I put it on and you probably could have fit 2 people in there. That was my fault for choosing the wrong side. But something that I struggle with is Mr. Llama is in the way. You can sometimes struggle to get them on to the cords. So they don't just flow on easily sometimes. So I have found when you want to put them on and take them off, if they're getting stuck on the lip, make sure that's on really tight, by the way. If you just twist it, it's probably easier if I go this way. If you just twist the needles a little bit as you're trying to slide it on, they go on so much easier, and you can just pull your stitches on. And then they go on there, and it makes it bigger and more accessible for you to get yourself into it when you want to try it on. If you're knitting top down in the round, to get it off, you can just pull them back on, and then you just give it a real sharp tug and it will come off. But highly recommend those. If you often need to try things on, they're really handy. You can slightly taper the end, like that one's got a little sideways. I don't even know if you can see it. No, it's probably a bit too small, but it kind of tapers down, which makes it easier for me to get it on and off the needles, and make sure I get a really tight suction grip. So while this is a really good tool, the tip for you really essentially is to, when you're sliding on your stitches or off your cord, rather than pushing straight across, because sometimes you can knock the stitch on hold cord off, just twisting your needle makes it a little bit more fluid, and reduces snagging and bunching. And you can feel a little bit less nervous about taking your stitches off the needles, because I never like doing it. It always gives me the heebie-jeebies, just in case I drop it. So that's my crafter's tip. And then after my crafter's tip, I usually do a bit of a cyber tip, since that's my jam. I do it for a job, but I'm also very passionate about helping people, because cyber security sounds like this big scary thing, but it's something that we all need to know, right? So my tip for today is a very simple one, but it's lock your device like you lock your front door. So always lock your phone or your computer with a PIN, a password, or biometrics, so either your face lock or using a fingerprint. Even when you're at home. So most of us wouldn't just pop out to the shops and leave the house wide open, but lots of people still leave their phone and their laptops unlocked, and it only takes a few seconds for someone, even if it's accidental, to access anything. And most of us keep our entire lives on our phones, like emails, saved passwords, your banking app, any of your social media accounts. So make sure your phone and your computer have a PIN or password or biometrics turned on, and always get into the habit of locking your screen when you walk away. So hitting the screen off button on your phone, or I've put the prompts up for if you need to lock your Windows or Mac PC quickly, just hit the buttons as you walk away. It's a good habit to get into. We have to do it in the office so that nobody can have unauthorized access to our devices, but it's something that I do at home as well. It's just a tiny step that makes a really big difference. but also you might have remembered from one of my very early episodes that we should also turn MFA on. So, or another thing you can do is add passwords to apps that you don't want people to get into, like your social media. You might have to put an additional PIN or fingerprint access to get into those apps. So like if you let your kids borrow your phone, they won't be able to get on your Facebook or purchase things from your store because you've put passwords in front of those things. So it's just adding doors with locks in front of things that you don't want people to access if they get hold of your device. But half of the thing in cybersecurity is that we want to make it more difficult for people, because if somebody wants to get into somewhere, they're going to, right? Like my dad always said, locks are for honest people. But the whole point is to put enough barriers up that someone will give up. So if you've got a password or a PIN on your personal devices, that's the first step in making it harder for somebody to get on those devices that essentially contain your entire life. So if you haven't done it already, go do it now. And just get in the habit of locking your screen when you walk away. So now that we've talked a little bit about professional me on the work side, let's talk about professional me on the dyer side. And I normally do a little bit of a Broomstitch feature. So today I have picked the yarn Meditate for you. Can you guess why? I haven't made anything in this one yet, but it's on my must knit list. And so this is a beautiful pale purple. There's several different shades in there that swirl around this lovely yarn. I have it on a fingering weight base, but anything that's on my shop, if you can't see it on a DK, I will happily dye it up for you. Or if there's not enough for what you want, I will do custom dye orders. And I will also do custom dye colours if there's something that you particularly want. And you're having trouble finding it, I can do it on the bases that I have in stock. So I'll read you the little story that goes with this one, because all of my yarns have a little bit of a story on my inspiration and how I came up with the colours, but also the names. And this one is Sink into a State of Tranquil Introspection with Meditate, a serene colourway that invites you to explore the depths of your inner sanctuary. A fusion of ethereal cornflower blue and dusky violet hues intertwine and meld upon the yarn, creating a mesmerising tapestry of violet lilac enchantment. Inspired by the restorative practice of meditation, Meditate yarn offers a sanctuary for your creative journey, allowing you to quiet the mind and awaken the spirit. With each stitch, as you feel the gentle embrace of tranquility guiding your hands as you weave threads of peace and serenity into every project, this yarn serves as your companion on the path to inner harmony, infusing your creations with a soothing energy of mindfulness and reflection. Let each stitch be your reminder of the power of stillness and presence as you immerse yourself in the meditative art of crafting. So that is my beautiful Meditate yarn. Again, I'm looking for the perfect project for this one. Someone asked in my last video in a comment to say, do I ever knit with my own yarns? I get really torn about knitting with my own yarns because my business is a very, very small business. And whenever I decide to knit with my own yarn, it basically is eating my stock. So it's a lot. I know spending money is like spending my time, but I essentially feel like I'm stealing the opportunity to purchase it from my customers, but also I know the time and effort that goes into it. Funnily enough, I'll let the other half raid my yarn store whenever they want for a new project, but I don't know. There's a mental block there that I guess maybe I need to meditate on and get past. But we'll see. But thank you for listening to my ramble about my yarn and my hang-ups. And then I usually talk a little bit about some media. So books I'm reading and podcasts that I recommend. So I've been smashing the audiobooks lately. I talked a little bit about the Trial of the Sun Queen series that I was reading, and I'd finished the first 3 and was halfway through the 4th book, so now I've obviously finished the 4th book. We had to do a road trip last weekend, which is why I didn't film an episode last weekend, up all the way up to Whangarei. So driving to Whangarei is about 10 hours from where we live. So we didn't do it all at once, there were breaks and things. So we decided to make the trip a little more interesting. We would read an audiobook series. the cat's just joined me. Hello, Smudge. So we picked the Flame Cursed Fae series, which contains Of Blades and Wings, Of Frost and Feather, and Of Ash and Iron by Eliza Raine. And we managed to finish the whole series in the trip because I listened to it on 1.2 speed. What are you doing? This is a rare thing. Smudge doesn't often want cuddles, so I'm going to take it while it's there. So it was a series about Ice Princess. Hello, darling. Fae, who had some sort of illness and was selected to go and earn her wings as a Valkyrie. So it was a mashup of Fae fantasy and Nordic lore, folklore and mythology. And she meets a flame cursed Fae, so Fire Fae who has had his Valkyrie wings stripped from him as a punishment, and his skin is fire, so nobody can touch him. And it's all about her journey going through training to be a Valkyrie and getting her wings. The first book read quite a bit like teen fiction, so it was a little bit eye-rolly in a few places. It got quite spicy, and like I'd probably go a 3 on the heat rating just because some of the stuff was a little bit unhinged maybe, and there was a fair bit of swearing throughout the book, so there's a couple of trigger warnings there, I guess. The third book was my favourite. It was also the longest, so that's good, and it did manage to surprise me in a couple of places, which was quite cool, but I did manage to figure out a lot of it before it had happened. So I don't know if I'd highly recommend the series. It was good. It made the trip go a whole lot faster, and it could have felt longer. And I've got 3 more books ticked off my goal of 25 books this year, so I can't complain about that. But since I finished those 3, I had to start another one called Quicksilver. Now this one's quite a big one. So on Audible, it's 21 hours. And I've managed to finish that one and start the next one, which is called Brimstone. And I cannot say enough good things about this book. This one has a lot more swearing and is a lot more spicy in terms of quantity, but not in terms of content, if that makes sense. But the lore and the world building and the character building and the personalities of the characters is very affirmed at the beginning, but the character development throughout has been fantastic, like chef's kiss, amazing. It's managed to really surprise me. I've had a few moments where I didn't see something coming, and it's very rare that a book does that to me. And I really like the characters. I really resonate with some of the sentiments. There's a lot of feminist rhetoric in there. Yeah, I love it. I'm so excited to get through. I've just started the second book, and the third book doesn't come out till the end of the year, so I'm going to hang out for that, and I will be pre-ordering it as soon as it becomes available. That's how good this series is. So definitely recommend it. Quicksilver and Brimstone by Callie Hart. Just have a drink because my voice is getting a bit scratchy. Talking too much. Podcasts. So this particular podcast is a lovely lady called Carla from Gisborne, New Zealand, and it is called Sew, Knit, Create and Repeat. So it's mostly about knitting, but also features sewing and some of the other crafts that she does. So she always has a lot to show. There's lots of vlog style footage with Carla's channel, and I don't watch all of those because I don't know, really short. I want something that I can sit down, turn on and like nestle into and watch. So the little short daily vlogs are not really for me. If she did a compilation video, that might be a bit better for me. But you get to see a lot of her daily life. She works at a local high school as a librarian, so you get to see a bit of what she's doing in there. You really get to know her. She comes and shows you what she's doing in her garden. She talks about her family a lot, shows you what she's cooking for dinner. So it's kind of like sitting down with a friend. And she's a really bubbly, beautiful personality, lovely lady. and I would recommend that you go check it out. You get to see a lot of Gisborne as well if you've never been there before. Yeah, so go check out Carla on Sew, Knit, Create and Repeat. Getting to the end now. Do a little bit of a life update. I've got a question for you guys and then we'll do the closeout. So I guess it's just everyday life sort of happening. Summer's been pretty cold and miserable here. As you can see, I'm kind of losing the light a little bit because the clouds have all rolled in and the rain is on its way. Gone from a beautiful sunshiny day to grey. But I've started a new fitness routine. I'm doing something 3 times a week. So I'm doing Reformer Pilates, aqua aerobics, and I have a personal trainer that I'm learning about powerlifting and training my body to get strong and toned. So that's sort of my goal, to move my body a bit more this year. I mentioned before I'm prepping for Capital Fibre Fest, but I also found out that I got accepted to be a trader at Fibretron. So I've got to get a double dye plan ready. The first one will be for Fibrefest on the 9th of May, and then Fibretron's in July. So whatever I sell at Capital Fibre Fest, I'll replenish before I go to Fibretron. But if you are coming to either of those events, please stop by and say hi when we get there. Or if you have any requests, or if you want me to dye up a batch of something for you and bring it with me to those events, I'm more than happy to do that as well. And the last bit of exciting news is, I guess I've put a deposit down on a new puppy, so we're going to have a new family member in April join us, so I'm very excited about that. I haven't chosen a name for her yet, but it's definitely going to have to be something that goes with Frank. So the question that I've got for you guys is, last time I asked, do you guys want an in-between episode? Because once a month to do the full podcast feels like a little bit long in between videos sometimes, and it was a resounding yes, please. So I did the 20 and 26 projects in 2026, sort of a big lineup of my queue of what I intend to knit. But my question is, what kind of thing do you want to see in those in-between episodes? Do you guys like pattern roundups? Do you want dye with me videos where I show you a bit of my process for dyeing yarn, like what happens when I spend a day in the dye studio? Do you want vlog style compilation videos where I'll do like prepping for a fibre festival? Oh, I don't know if you can hear that, the rain's just hit. Or like following my pattern design process. Do you want a little bit more of life? So like if I go to an event or something, I'll definitely do one for Fibrefest and one for Fibretron, but is that kind of what you're into? Let me know. Or it might be something completely left field that you want a little bit more. I'm also thinking of an Ask Me Anything kind of video, so if you've got questions, please feel free to drop them below or send them through, and once I've got a big enough list, I will sort that video out. So that's me. I'm done. Thank you for today. I hope you've been inspired by something that you saw here or I've talked about. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with me. I know there's a lot of other content out there, and I do really appreciate that you've chosen to click on my video and spend some time knitting and chatting away to me. Feel free to reach out, comment below, DM me. I'm always keen to connect with my viewers and my audience. But for now, before I get drowned out entirely by the rain, may your yarn never tangle and may your projects always enchant. Remember, a little magic goes a long way. Happy crafting, everyone.